Welcome to Art Chats con la Mitotera. I'm your host, Mel Dominguez, and I'm so lucky to have our next guest, our community artist, Toreenee Wolf.
Hello, hello. Hi out there in Cyberland.
Yeah, you know, it's so important for me to have you on today because you have so many stories from the very beginning of how we'll get to that, but I'm like where you're from. But what you're actually doing right now outside is you are working on a series of murals.
I'm working on a Black Lives Matter mural, and I did the first part of it like a week ago, and there was another small space that opened up right next to it. So I am now doing a smaller component, but it fits with it. And so my Black Lives Matter mural, part one is called The American Dream. And then part two, which is, I'm gonna hold it up, this design right here. Can you guys see it?
Oh yeah.
That's called At the Altar of the Ancestors.
And where is this located?
This is at the MSA Annex. So it is near the Mercado downtown off of Congress, I believe.
So it's walkable.
It's walkable, you can see it, you can ride your bike by it, the trolley goes by it. And I thought it was just a really important time to be a part of and to witness. And I mean, we're in such an incredibly transformational, alchemical, crazy ass place.
See, because you've seen a lot of things.
I've seen me some things, honey. I've seen me some things. I have.
I'm laughing because I'm just like, this is intense because it's still happening. And how has it been as an artist, having already seen so many things happen in the past, to now be in the future and creating a mural like you're doing now, like, and with all this other stuff like quarantine, like it feels like pressure. How do you feel doing this?
I'm kind of standing in the place of the witness. I check in with myself to see, am I fearful? I am obviously concerned. I'm more concerned for people that I love than myself. I'm concerned for family and friends. I'm concerned for strangers who, you know, could get sick and die. This is it's a horrific thing. Everything I've read about it is just kind of frightening. But for me, myself, I don't feel like personal fear. And with everything going on, I think that all the things that are happening, it's like a perfect storm. It is a complete perfect storm. The things that are happening with Black people being killed is nothing new. It is absolutely nothing new. This has been going on and going on. And when we've talked about it, you know, the standard answer is, oh, if you must have been doing something wrong, if you just obey the law, you must have said something, you must have done something. There's no reason a cop would just shoot you or kill you. And all that dismissal, which has gone on for ages. And now there's been enough of a shift in consciousness, and there is social media.
Yes.
And so we have hit this perfect storm. Like 40 million people are out of work. We've been sequestered in our homes. The entire world, there's an astrologer who has said, she calls this the Great Pause. The Great Pause.
Think, right?
Yeah, and I think of that moment between the in-breath and the out-breath, that micro moment where there's like, boom, nothing. And so here we are. We've been home, we've been sequestered. We are already like scared about what's happening. And where have we been? We have been on our screens.
Yes.
And what has gotten people through? Art, singing, sharing stories, looking at art, all of these kinds of things. And what have people been sharing? The horror of all of these people of color being killed. And
by
so,
the hand of the police.
By the hand of the police, but you see what the police have come out of. And so to me, this had to happen if we want something different. And when you look historically, anytime there've been pandemics, it has caused a rupture in society. And there was the idea and there was the space pulled apart that something different could happen in society. It's like a reboot. It's a horrific reboot.
But this is a hard reboot because it's not just one subject. It's got us on the technology space and how we think of working from home is gonna be like, even though our climate change reality, the mountain's on fire still, like.
I know, the mountain's on fire. And I remember reading a headline, like I think last week, where it said, COVID is running through Arizona like wildfire. And it's like, no lie. I mean, I think all of these things are entwined in a mesh.
Right. And it's forcing the pause. And there's still some folks that, and I hate that it's happening, because in my mind, I guess I'm naive in the way that I feel like I thought that we all thought about each other, especially if there was people that claimed a religion or Christianity, that they were considered, right?
Darling, remember what Christianity was used for? Subjugation and annihilation and genocide and slavery.
I know, I'm gonna cry right now.
I know, and we have to come to grips with what our history really is predicated on. You know, that beautiful myth, the shining city on the hill, the lights, you know, the welcoming harbor. I mean, our country is predicated on fucking trauma. Oh, can I say that?
Yeah, you can, yes.
Look at me cussing like a sailor. It's predicated on fucking trauma. It is predicated on trauma and lies. And so how can we move forward? We can't move forward. We cannot create a more just and inclusive society until we look at this and understand what it is about. I am not asking white people to feel guilty, but I'm asking them to look at what is going on: structural racism, institutionalized white supremacy. And inside of that, you know, misogyny is woven deeply into all of that.
Right. So, but you lived a lot. So it's funny, because I have a landlord. His name is Alfred J. Quiros. And
Alfred is your landlord?
Yeah. So it's crazy though, because I mean, he'd say, "Hey, Toreenee was my student," and I'm looking at him like, "What? Like, you guys don't look like, you know?" And I'm like, "What? How?" And I didn't realize, but when he was explaining to me that he was out in Rhode Island,
Providence, yeah.
And I'm like, "What are Mexicans doing out there?" Like,
no, he was in Providence, Rhode Island. I went to the longest running alternative school in the country, and so I was on the committee to help hire the teachers, and he came through, and it was between he and another woman, and he just edged her out a little bit because he just had more quirk and just more skills. And he was my high school art teacher. I love Alfred. He is like, he's like wacky as hell and like knows his stuff. But yeah, he was my high school art teacher. Yeah, because I'm older than fire. So.
But you don't look at, that's why I'm like, wait a minute. How is that possible? Like, what?
Yeah. Me not believe in aging. I come from good stock and good genes. I don't believe in it. I mean, I believe in getting older and hopefully getting wiser and more knowledgeable. But yeah, I have no intentions of aging at all. I think it's we don't know how to do it well. Yeah. So I'm just not doing it anymore. What?
And what for now? There's no calendar.
I know. There's like a whole lot of time slippage now. People are like, what day is it? Like, I don't know. There's a great meme on Facebook that I saw. It was Danny Glover, and he's like in a suit, and he's talking about the beginning of the 12 weeks of COVID, how to bake banana bread. And then the next picture is him from This Is America. And it's like, defund the police. So we've gone from how to make banana bread in a little suit to like, defund the police. This is America. And I'm like, oh my God. I mean, when you think of the range of that, who would have thought 3 months ago that we would be having this conversation?
I'm glad we're having it. I thought we were going to have that a lot sooner because of every time I heard of a story that was caught on film, you're like, they're done. And no, they are not done. They still have a career. They're still hurting people.
Right.
Or they aren't fixed the way that like our mental health, which by the way, I was going to say, the way that your spirit, you keep your spirit so together. How do you do that? That's part of that mental health, but mental health needs to be part of who we make the phone call before we call a police department.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. I am relentlessly optimistic. I am cautiously optimistic, but I am also relentlessly optimistic. I believe in employing chaos theory. And chaos theory in physics is, a butterfly flaps its wing in Brazil and there's a tornado in Texas. But see, the cumulative effect of all these small acts ends up being an avalanche.
Yes.
So I feel if I live my life along the lines of creating kindness, not being a doormat, taking no shit, having discernment, but do my part for making the world better. My mother taught me, leave it better than you found it.
Yes.
And adding beauty and light and glitter to the world, then I am doing my job. And I believe in employing chaos theory like a motherfucker.
Yeah, hell yeah.
So that we take care of each other and we are kind and that we are loving, but it's not from this saccharine place. I mean, I've met people where, like, you know, let me be all kind and love and light, but there's no substance to it.
Yeah.
And it's wishy-washy.
And you can't feel it.
And you can't feel it. And it's like, well, there's this whole thing of like, let's be nice. There's that whole genre of white people, and a lot of white women in particular, I'm talking about you, my white sisters, where if we just be nice, we can nice out racism. And we know that doesn't work. You can't nice out racism.
No.
If I'm just nice and I don't say the bad N word and I'm just kind, but I don't make waves when I see bad things, it's like nothing changes. Nothing changes.
Yeah. And that's been the biggest part. And I feel that's what's been so hard, I guess, growing up too. I'm like, I'm still accepting these things in my naive mind, but like going through the fact that people won't hire you if you're transgender, or, you know, I mean, I'm all, what else? There's a lot of stuff. I mentioned the other day, like this really happened. Like as a Chicanx, like I can't wear a black button-up shirt to an event because I might be mistaken for the help. You know,
it doesn't matter what you wear. I've been mistaken for the help in complete formal wear. Years ago, I was talking about this a couple weeks ago. Years ago, it was Albert Soto and Nora Medina and all of these glorious, wonderful, I think Hassan was there. We were at a club that used to, like before it was Plush, it was somebody else and somebody else. And we were all dressed to the nines. We'd come from the theater and we were sitting toward the back of the restaurant and people kept coming by asking us where the bathroom was. And we were like, why are they asking us this? And finally, like the 8th person came by. And we have our dinner plates there. We've got velvet on. We've got ruffles. Our hair is done. And finally, Albert said, and he would like always kind of sit like this with this look on his face, why are you asking us where the bathroom is? And this person said, oh, we thought you were the help. And then we're like, are we dressed like the help?
Oh my God.
But all they saw were brown and black faces. So we couldn't have been anything other than the help.
See, that devastates me because, I mean, I don't know how you felt, and a lot of people are very much in disagreement with his leadership, but when President Obama was president, I mean, I felt like there was a movement of leadership of, you know what? Yeah, when they go low, we're going to go high. We're going to keep going. We're going to do something. And there's a bunch of students that pretty much I met when they were little kids. Now they're like high school graduates going to high school. And now they're getting into the world of what Trump has given us.
Oh my God, yeah.
And I'm ashamed because I'm like, this is not at all what we were gearing you guys up for. And I feel bad because there's another generation of young kids who we're leading into the way that, are they ever gonna go get a job, like leave the house? Like,
I have a good friend of mine who said, and he's a young white man. He said that in his lifetime, all he's ever known was President Obama. See? So the idea of a Black man as president is completely the norm. It is a completely normal occurrence. And he doesn't know anything else. So it's not this strange thing. It's like, here is a really wonderful, competent man. Did I agree with everything? Hell no. Were there things I was very upset about? Absolutely. But the octave of hope that happened, the idea of what was possible around the world. Years ago, my husband and I and a good friend, we were working on a film project in France. And we were in this little town called Vitré. And we're walking around and these 2 French women come up to us and goes, are you Americans? I was like, yes. And goes, oh, we love Obama. Like, we do too. Thank you very much. And so the idea that this is the norm that kind of elegance and grace, that kind of wherewithal is the norm. And that's kind of what we should expect, to go from that to the being who's occupying now. He's just like, I don't even understand it.
It is a weird thing. And I'm troubled by the fact that a lot of the things that are just happening, that they're just happening. I feel like that would have been treason. And like, look, he's letting all his bros out of jail. Mm-hmm. And one of his bros hung himself. I'm like, supposedly.
So they say.
Right? I'm like, God bless. I just feel really sad that this is the kind of world that we're leaving to the young people, like we're passing the torch. We're like, here, you got to deal with the orange guy.
But the world has always been jacked up.
Yeah.
Let's be real. I mean, my husband is white. We would have these conversations where he would say, it's never been this bad. And I go, it has been for me. He'd go, but politicians haven't lied like this blatantly. And I go, yeah, they have for me, because I live a different reality. I mean, I've had 2 houses burnt down on me growing up. I remember, go ahead, what, love?
That's scary, because that's your stuff. It's a violation. And then there's nothing.
No, it's.
Because you have to tell folks, how did they get caught on fire?
Oh, so here's a story. We bought a 15-room house in a place called Hope Valley, Rhode Island. And we were going from New England to visit my grandmother and all my mother's people, which are all the African-American side of the family, down in Charlotte, North Carolina. So we thought, because Rhode Island is like that big, we thought we'd drive by our new house. So I'd fallen asleep in the car because we were leaving late at night. And we pull up in front of the brand new house, 15-room Victorian home. The top part was an attic floor. It was going to be like my teenage hangout pad, because I was a teenager. I was looking forward to that. I wake up and there's a house in smoking ruins. And I said, is that our new home? And my folks like, yep. And I'm like, really? And then I went back to sleep. I woke up again in Virginia. And I said, is that really our new home? And they went, yep. I slept all the way from New England to Charlotte because it was shock. It was shock and horror.
Oh my God.
And so here's what they said, was that there was a retarded boy, and that was a phrase they used back then, because I was a teenager, this was in the 70s, that he snuck out of his 2nd-story room, shimmied down a drain pipe, loped 5 miles, hot-wired a guy's truck, drove the truck to the side of the house, burnt the house, got back in the truck, drove it, parked it in the guy's driveway, loped back home, shimmied back up the drain pipe, and was in bed just in time for his mom to wake him up for school.
I've never heard of anybody with a...
I was like, does anybody find this? It's like, okay, this seems pretty phantasmagorical, but all right, I'm a teenager, what do I know? And so then we bought an 11-room house not far, and they just outright firebombed them. Then the sheriff told my folks, listen, if I had to round up all the suspects, I'd have to round up most of the town. And what we didn't know was that there was a Black family that tried to move in before, and the town en masse got together and bought the house out from under them. And then the town sued my folks to clean up the wreckage. So after school, me and my friends, my multicolored friends, with a pickup truck and a station wagon and wheelbarrows, hauled away the rubble of a 15-room house.
Oh my God. Dude.
So in my art and in my songs, burning houses show up every now and then. There's a prose piece that I just did that, how does it go? In the rear view mirror of my consciousness, there are houses on fire in the night, lighting up the sky like a pyrite dawn.
Damn.
And yet, I love what this country is supposed to be about.
But it didn't turn you into a monster, like it, because that mean, like, if that would have happened to me, I think I would have lost my mind.
Okay, well, here's what I used to do, because we would be down there like clearing up the wheelbarrow, and there was like a little general store, and so I would walk up to the general store and like stand there and read magazines. Like, do you want to come for me? I'm a little teenage girl, and here I am. Wow. And I must have been giving off such crazy vibrations that no one bothered me. But bullies don't do that anyway. But it's like, here I am. Here I am, a little harmless little Negro teenager. Here I am. And nobody bothered me. And obviously I had my guardian angels watching. So like, oh, she done lost her mind. She done lost her mind. But so here's the other side. My folks worked really hard to surround me with loving, kind, nurturing, validating, soul uplifting people. And so
I met your mom one time and I still can feel her energy.
Yeah, my mom's nickname is Shug, and Miss Shug is amazing. I tease her a lot on the phone, because I always do, because she's very much a grande dame and what the English would call an original. And I just love her. And she used to be a teacher and a counselor. So, you know, she poured so much into our education. And yeah, she also grew up in the South. And she also has some of the most unprocessed pain from racism of anyone that I've ever met. It's astonishing. And she remembers drinking from the white and colored water fountains. And she would go, I would say my mother's the color of a Hershey bar and twice as sweet. She would go, and she's beautiful and gorgeous. And she would go and she would drink from the white water fountains. And she would have people say, you can't drink there. And she'd go, oh, it's all right. I don't mind white water. And they didn't know what to do with her.
I love her.
They were like, oh my God, I don't know what to, so, you know.
Because a lot of this shit is just not logical. And I want to say personally that I think that it's it should be diagnosed as an illness, because it's absurdity. It's beyond, like, there's no reason. It even goes as far as to, like, there was a vigil last night at the El Teradito, and it's a vigil. It's another man who died at the arms of police, right?
Right. It's the Tucson police.
Right. And they considered that a protest. And I'm like, that was a vigil for someone.
But what's that phrase? If you are a hammer, then everything around you looks like a nail.
Yeah. Damn, man.
You know? Everything around you looks like a nail. This is the only way I can respond. And I've had my life saved by cops. I've had my life jeopardized by cops. Wow. Some of the finest people I've met have been in law enforcement, and some of the most horrifying experiences I've ever had are with law enforcement.
It is. Well, what's hard for me is that I have family that's military. You know, they're in military, different branches. But I also have from my mom's cousins that some of them are police officers. And before I knew that they were like cops, like they were family, you know? So it was like, oh, cool, you know? And then when I was old enough to start having conversations, and I'm like, wait a minute, he's a brown guy and he's a cop and he's thinking like that?
There's a great article called Confessions of a Former Bastard Cop. And this guy, he was a cop for it's an amazing article. He was a cop for 10 years, and he just lays it out that you cannot change this culture. You cannot change the culture from the inside. It needs to be dismantled and rebuilt. And it's horrifying and succinct and right to the point. It's on my Facebook page there, but I'll find it and I'll put it on your page, but it's an amazing article. He pulls no punches at all.
Well, it's funny to me because I'm like, now when you have the internet, I wish I had the internet in school. I think I would have been on my homework. I don't know, but they give you a lot more information. Like Harriet Tubman, how she got everything going. That she was, just everything, and then the fact that she led an army during the Civil War. I was like, they didn't tell me that shit.
No, they just give you one narrative. My favorite, it's gonna sound crazy, but my favorite little story about learning about Harriet Tubman history is Drunk History with Octavia Spencer as Harriet Tubman. It's just, I mean, that was the biggest history lesson. I knew about Harriet Tubman. I knew about her all growing up. And there was all this stuff that no one ever told me. I mean, that's the thing. History, yes, is written by the victors. And to get that party line going, we have to make sure that we are only told one kind of story about who and what we are and what our capabilities are. How many people know that our Constitution comes from the Iroquois Confederacy? How many people know that?
I know that's a trip, right?
Yeah. The bulk of our Constitution, the idea came from the Iroquois Confederacy.
And it's like a belt, right? With that tree. They even took the tree as an emblem as well. Mm-hmm. As a prayer to heaven is what they call it, I think.
I don't know. I don't know that part. I mean, you can always learn. You can always learn. But that idea that there's just kind of one monolithic story and this is the only one that gets told. When I work with teenagers, I tell them, do not let them, particularly teenagers of color, do not let the world dismiss you and tell your story. The world needs your story. The world needs different stories.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's funny because in this kind of me getting older, while there's Facebook and Instagram, all the social media stuff, it feels weird because I'm used to talking to folks in person and stopping you just because I wanted to stop you and say, hey, what's up? How you doing? Let's chit chat and just like this and in person. And I felt weird because everybody visiting the U of A, sometimes it feels really weird because everybody's looking down and at the phone, Yeah. And I was getting like antsy, like, hey, what's going on here? Yeah. And then now here we are, where that's the most important thing we can do is talk to each other.
And people are hungry for that. Being on site, because we're still basically doing sheltering in place. I mean, I'm very much aware of Patrick's immune system. He's fine, he's cancer-free, but that's in the back of my brain and all of that kind of stuff. And, being on the site during this mural, I've had more interaction. I wear my little mask. I got a little purple mask right here because it matches anything I have on. And I got 2 little purple masks. We've got a little protocol. But just saying hello to people walking by, it's like, oh my God, this is amazing. Because I basically, we're at home. I talk to the cats. I'll call up my folks, and luckily my folks are all like, yes, we are staying home. We are being sheltered in place. We're being very, very careful. We're working from home. But it's amazing. And it's like, oh, we don't want to leave each other's presence, but I got to keep working. And now, of course, I don't know when I'll see you again because I will be going back home.
Wow.
And yeah, we're hungry for each other.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And have all the conversations been good? Have people actually, did you get people that were wearing their masks too, or they weren't?
Before they were, we had some people, most people were wearing their masks. We had some people didn't. There was one moment, there are times when I think that I'm doing okay, and I feel like I'm doing okay, then someone will say something, and then I realize how not okay I am. So I'm working on the Black Lives Matter mural. The words are up and my back is turned and this guy says, Black Lives Matter, all lives matter. And the energy of derision and dismissiveness was so strong. I had my paintbrush and my little can of paint in my hand and I whirled on him and he was some distance away and I started advancing on him. Boom. And I said, listen, when you say all lives matter, you're erasing from the equation. Of course, all lives matter. But in this moment, it's very obvious that Black lives don't matter. People of color don't matter. And he started backpedaling and I had this level of rage. And I just kept walking toward him step by step as I'm saying this stuff with my little paintbrush. And finally he said, well, I've been talking about the animals and everything else. And he finally said, I'm Native American. And it's like, dude, okay. And I said, well, we're having that conversation that has to happen with all of us folded in, but this is the rallying cry. And this is the phrase that is reverberating around the world right now. And he skedaddled. He started backpedaling. He skedaddled. Because I was so angry afterwards.
that it upsets me too, because I'm like, why? Like, are people that dumb sometimes? Like, like
I mean, I think you have to look at.
I hate being like that too, calling somebody out like that. But I'm like, what gave him that? Like, you're
See,
both fine, you know.
there was another man who came by the other day, brown man in a wheelchair. My back is turned, and he said, "Black lives matter. Don't all lives matter?" And it was from this query and this quest. And it wasn't from this place of derision. It was from this kind of heart. And I turned around and I said, absolutely. And he said, how come you don't have any brown people that look like me on here? And I've got an ambiguous looking woman at the end there of the first mural, kind of like, because my people are all different shades. And we know sometimes, you know, we come in a multitude of lovely shades. And I said, and this woman here, you know, and we talked about representation matters. And we had this conversation, but he genuinely wanted to know if all lives matter. And what he wanted to know was, do I matter? Where am I here? And I will talk about that.
And I think that you listen for people's heart. Your back was turned, so you felt that vibration.
Yeah, I listened. I mean, that was the thing. It was like, yeah, when you listen from that heart-centered place, because what people don't say, and sometimes it's space between the words and how they say it, the bulk of our communication is not with words.
Yeah, I agree. That's why we're able to talk to animals. My animals, I have a special call for them. They know me and they come to me. The same thing with horses and even some of the birds.
Yeah. I think there's nothing more gratifying than me going outside and calling my cats and seeing them like run into the yard. Let's do it. Come on, people. Right? And then when I call and talk to them, it's like, yep, come on, people. And people say cats are not affectionate. It's like, oh, I'm sorry. They've just not deemed you worthy of affection.
Because they choose you. And I recently heard, because of all this TV time we got now, that cats build the communication personally with their owners.
Yes.
Their caregivers. And so that meow, they don't do that. They do that.
No, they don't talk. I mean, some cats will chitter and chatter, but they've learned, I mean, I have had cats all my life, all my adult life. And even when I was a kid, I would have cats that would come and knock on the window. And my mother would say, there's a friend of yours who wants you to come out and play. And I'd go out and play with the cats. And she'd go, there's a friend at the door. Because we weren't allowed to have cats, but neighborhood cats and I would hang out and walk around in the field and things like that. And the dog that I grew up with was 1/4 wolf. Oh, so wow. Yeah, his name was Sam. He was a big dog. He was Alaskan Malamute, Siberian Husky, German Shepherd, and 1/4 wolf.
So I always kick your ass if you get near me.
He's like a big dog. And so I always say, raised by wolves, trained by cats.
See, damn, this is what's, because there's a lot of murals that are popping up. Boom, boom, boom. The whole effect of the murals is to really put it in your face, because a lot of people sometimes, if one TV or news station is talking about it too much, they're like, well, I'm gonna just change the channel. Or if this social media person, if that friend is like this, and well, they're just gonna put you on pause or turn you off or whatever. And so like these murals are for the people that are still going outside, and if they're still not aware of what's going on in the world around them, that they acknowledge that there's a community here that believe that Black Lives Matter. And they need to be confronted with that, because it's so absurd to me. I had no idea. There's a lot of things I had no idea about, like Mississippi's flag. Like, are you kidding me? I didn't know I had the Confederate flag inside there. I'm like, are you serious? Yeah. And then the other thing is that you know how you said like stories spin. So we have shootings, or the you know, kneeling on George Floyd, and then they're like within a week or so, then there's another man in Texas, and then there's the woman that gets that no knock, which is nonsense.
Breonna. Yeah.
Breonna Taylor. The fact that you didn't need the
no knock warrant.
Yeah, and the fact that they didn't even double check because the person they were looking for had moved already. That's how slow moving their system is already. And they're supposed professionals and all these things, right? And then, because I'm telling you this because I'm in shock that there's folks that they can't connect the dots and how they're moving, but the people getting lynched.
Yeah, I know.
And then they put a noose in NASCAR.
Yeah.
And I'm like, because I thought, I don't know, in my mind, I'm like, that's done. Like, that's not real. But ever since
No, we're far from done. I didn't know any person of color that was surprised when Trump got elected. I mean, we were like horrified, but we weren't surprised. All of my incredibly intelligent, amazing, well-traveled, well-read, delightful, loving, liberal white folk, they were all stunned. I wasn't. I had friends who like couldn't get out of bed hardly. And I was just like, I was like, nope, let's keep right on moving.
Well, this is what's weird for me. And I'm like, I wonder if people are putting this together too. But when Obama was president, there was a lot of things that he was doing to get us moving as a nation. And a lot of times, and I know this sucks, but like if you get put into a position of power or position of knowledge where you know the inner workings of something, sometimes you have to leave way for other things. Like, we're working with this contractor because
he could only do so much. He was complete. I mean, the whole goal was to make him a one-term president. And Mitch McConnell said that. This is my goal.
His ideas, they stalled them. They stopped everything.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean,
like, this is their get back, right? They're like, well, we had to do this with your voting.
Well, let's be real. What it's about? There's a black man in the White House. Oh, look, there's a black man in the White House. You know, and it's like, oh no, it's like, yep. And not only a black man in the White House, there is a cool, fabulous black man with a gorgeous black woman and daughters. He was surrounded by all this incredible feminine energy and not apologetic.
And they're just smart, like
you're like, wait a minute here. It's like, yeah, we're up in the White House, y'all.
Only wife. That was his only wife versus the president we have now.
Just one. Likes her. Buddy keeper.
Oh my God. But that's what I'm fighting myself with. Like, that's what's really hard, because I feel like you sometimes, where you're relentless, optimistic, because you're solution based, you're a survivor.
Well, I also, I mean, here's the other thing. Let's not forget that 3 million more people voted for Hillary. Now, was Hillary my first choice? Hell no. Do I have a whole lot of issues with Hillary? I used to say that Hillary was the best thing about Bill was Hill. I don't say that because she got co-opted. But I voted for her gladly rather than open up the 7th seal of hell. It's like, no. So who did I want? I wanted Bernie. This time around, who did I want? I wanted Andrew Yang. I was Yang Gang all of the way. Will I vote for Biden? Absolutely. Because we have got to disinfect. We've got to disinfect the Oval Office. We got to get bleach. Like, he was right about the bleach. We got to get the bleach, and we got to get the sage and whatever else we can burn up in there. Oh, but I mean,
I would have loved to have seen Michelle Obama and Elizabeth Warren or something like that.
Well, Michelle's not doing it. Let's be real. I mean, like, people love that idea, but she done served her time. Leave Michelle alone.
I know.
When she said that when she left the White House and got on the helicopter or the plane, she cried for half an hour. I mean, the scrutiny they were under. If 1/4 of the scandals had come out the way we're dealing with now, we can't even we can comprehend. They wouldn't have flown at all. So I'm like, let Michelle go on and live her best life. That is what she's doing. She done served her time.
Absolutely.
And it's also, we have to make the decisions. It's a rigged game. But there was a thing I saw, the Dixie Chicks, now called the Chicks, they've got this great song called March. A friend of mine put on Facebook, which is fabulous. And the opening line, I think I'm paraphrasing badly, but it's, if our voices didn't have so much power, they wouldn't work so hard to silence them.
There you go.
And what's the game that the elite, those that, you know, the 1%, the global management team, they, what have they always done? Divide and conquer. Play us against one another.
Yep.
We have much more in common with each other than we don't. But if we're going to be played by, you know, the color of our skin, our gender, all of these kinds of things, then we are always fighting each other and never looking at, wait a minute, what the hell's happening over here behind that curtain? Let's look, oh, there's somebody back there working shit, you know, machinations behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And so the idea of we are a powerful force.
See, and this,
go ahead.
Oh no, I'm like, this time we're interviewing, like we're talking to each other.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what you do as an artist.
Yeah.
You're out there sharing with the students and trying to get them to spark that fire in their mind to think deeper, and you know, and to, you know, be more positive and stuff. But it's not, yeah, but it's just not, for me, it's just not, when I say relentlessly optimistic, it is not just this thing of like, oh, everything will be fine. Everything will be all right. It's like, you know what? I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that my life matters, and I'm going to do what I can to make things all right. Yeah. How I choose to do it is through the arts. That's how I choose to do it. Yeah, because it's kind of the soft way in. Because sometimes it depends on it. Like, sometimes it's been kind of hard. Sometimes it's like, You're telling me I get collectors, and they're like, I love this piece and this and that, and I'm looking at the man, I'm like, do you know what this piece is about? You know, and then they're like, oh damn, because they've already built they already have feelings about it. Right. They have feelings about me. They have feelings about the art, and then they have this idea. Now they're like, man, Mel's crazy. But there's a point to be made, and you know what? Mm-hmm. They've done it. They've continued to collect based on the fact that they know that when they give me money and they invest in me, that I'm going to share that money in my community. But it's also your voice. It's your authentic voice. You're painting what is true and what is unto your heart and spirit. Yeah. And that, you know, that level of authenticity, you know, we're hungry for those kinds of deep connections. Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, how do you find that online sometimes? I mean, because sometimes it could be a lot when you just see a lot of hate stuff. And I break it up with music, you know, but it's hard. It's hard. I mean, I make sure that I feed my soul. If I'm going to look at this, a while ago, I put like, here, we know there's a lot of horror going on, but here's a whole bunch of good things that have happened. Because fear is the great control frequency. If we keep making you afraid and scared, we can control you. But there's 1,000 million great things that happen that never get any play, which then gives us a very skewed sense of what reality is. Yeah, because that's what I think. I feel like they bombarded us with stuff to like almost desensitize us and exhaust us. And I am exhausted. Like, I'm like, fuck, like, because every day you wake up and it's something crazy. Or like, even down to, there was like an earthquake in Mexico the other day. And I'm like, the world is ending. Oh my God. But I mean, when you read about history and when you look at the kinds of trauma that humanity has sustained, I mean, it's kind of always been jacked up. Yeah. And so I always look, I had a friend, she is now on the other side, and she was the last of her lineage, the last of her line. It was just she and her aunt. Her aunt passed away at 90, and then she died. But she had a story that was passed down through the matriarchs in her family. They were originally from Europe. And she said that they had this old matriarch who was so upset that the village was going to fall apart. It was going to be the end of civilization because the printing press had been invented and people in the village would learn how to read and they weren't supposed to. Oh. It was only the priest and the lords that were supposed to. It was going to upset the balance of things, and it wasn't for regular people, and it was going to kill civilization. Oh boy. You know what's funny? I read in this book called These Truths, and I'm in the beginning pages, and it talks about, it's all the way, you know, it's talking about Christopher Columbus and stuff.
Mm.
And but they're making a point. The difference between Marco Polo and Christopher Columbus is that Christopher Columbus brought a master printer with him. So anywhere he went, he made an official paper piece, a print. I stopped here in the, you know, wherever he fucking stopped, but you know what I mean? And I was like, are you a kid? But it was such in the past where these things were, it was just happening that, you know what I mean? Like us now on the internet. There's no laws up there right now. That's why you see all them guys shooting up satellites right now. That you JPL, NASA, SpaceX, because there's no rules. But in the future, there might be something like who gave you the right to travel space?
Mm-hmm.
Where's your passport when you get to Mars?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Everything is kind of up for grabs in many, many ways. It's a potent time. And I think it's, and it's scary and unnerving. I don't know what, you know, when I think of September, I don't know what September will look like. Nobody knows. We basically have a government that's abdicated, and we are on our own. There's a guy that I listen to a lot online called Beau of the Fifth Column. He is this progressive journalist who looks like your archetypal redneck. Like maybe there's a deliverance banjo like sitting on his porch or something. And he is, I love him. He is so fabulous and down to earth and breaking stuff down from a huge progressive point of view about what and history and what is going on. He's called Beau of the Fifth Column. I listen to him like first thing in the morning, I'm getting ready, and he'll go, howdy internet people. I go, good morning, Beau, and I go on about my business. And then I check out Trevor Noah. I listen to the Breakfast Club as I'm running around. There's a whole bunch of stuff I listen to. And it's, you know, there's a lot of voices out there, and we can also pick and choose what we focus on. Yes, I have not seen the video of George Floyd getting killed. I cannot watch that. Even though I believe that we have to look at history unflinchingly, we have to stare it dead in the face and come to grips with it. All I've seen is that photo of the cop with his hand in his pocket.
Yes, pressing.
So casual. I don't even have to take my hands out. I can put my hand in my pocket in somewhat state of repose and make sure that my knee is pressing on the net. And I can look at you because nothing's going to happen to me as I kill this man in front of you. I can't watch the video. That picture told me all I needed to know.
But for logical stuff, I mean, not logical, just the fact that they have rules and they have what, you know what I'm saying? Like they're not, no, no, wait a minute. I'm saying like they already know like chokeholds, they're not supposed to do them. They already know like knees on the neck, they're not supposed to do them.
Okay, let's back it up. Remember the golden rule? Do unto others as you would have them do unto you, right? Could you mind getting on this boat? We have some land across the big waters that you need to be tilling. This is your land here. Would you mind making a treaty so that I can break every single one? And we're going to give you the worst piece of land because it is manifest destiny. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you, except we're going to completely and totally, maniacally, horrifically, heartbreakingly ignore all of that.
Well, Professor Seatley said yesterday that they dehumanize,
of course,
the color, and that's where it starts. But I'm just from right now today that they still use those like tear gas. Yeah. That's not even supposed to be used. Like they're supposed to. It's done because it's killed people.
Yeah. Yes.
That bottom line, it's killed people. They weren't aiming, or if they were aiming, it was fucked up. Mm-hmm. Don't use it no more. Mm-hmm. And it still happened. And it's just so weird. I'm sitting back thinking, I'm like you're right, like defund the police. Like, why are they getting this money?
Mhm.
How are they getting this money? How do you get approved to military? You get military.
Well, as wars were decreasing, and believe it or not, wars were decreasing, suddenly, what are we going to do with all these tanks and all this good gear that we cannot say, oh, you know what? Dang it. Police will buy it. And we will, I mean, but it's, the system is designed this way. Never forget, this system is functioning exactly as it was designed. Black bodies are a cash crop in America, have been. Never forget that. Black and brown bodies are forfeit. And we're not even going to talk about what's going on with red bodies, the horror that's being perpetrated upon them. Who helped build the railroad? Yellow people. We're not going to talk about the horror that was perpetrated on them.
The United States did that to everybody.
Handful of people who are the right skin color and the right gender. Don't look like you nor me.
That was another topic we brought up. The fact that there's a different way that they kill women. Mm-hmm. That's a whole nother monster.
Oh yeah.
But you know what? Because I mean, it's important that we talk about these things, but there's also, because for folks, if they've never met you before, mm-hmm. you don't just do murals. You've done public art, like where you did a sculpture kind of piece, like kind of like a.
Yeah, like I've got work all over town. I've got there's a piece called Song of the Ancestors, which is a big sculpture monument at the new Quincy Douglas Center at 36th and Keno. If you drive down Silver Bell between Ina and Cortero, I've got 18-foot tall mosaic obelisks that are along the road, then 5 that are in the corner, the Crossroads Park there.
Have you ever made like a special little map of just the route you can have people go on to see your artwork?
I could do that. There's a great walking guide, because I did all the artwork and worked with the community on South Park. Okay. From 22nd down to 36th down there. I did all of that. And Karen Falkenstrom designed this really beautiful walking map. I still have many copies of it.
Ooh, so I'd like to get my hands on some of those.
I'll get some to you. Yeah, I'll get some to you. I mean, I've done a lot of work in this town. I just work a lot.
No, and I'm glad you work a lot. People need to see you. Like, you know what I mean? There's other people here. There's other kids, and they need to see folks, you know? Mm-hmm. But there's something else that you do that's very special here in Tucson, Arizona. And that's, you're a maker, but you do like performance art.
I do performance art. I'm also an actor. I've done a lot of work with Invisible Theater. I worked 1,000 years ago with Arizona Theater Company, and I'm in a feature film called Unsound. Unsound, it's online. It is by the phenomenal Darius Britt, one of the great, amazing talents here in town. African-American man, fabulous. I love him to pieces. He did this movie called Unsound that's won many, many awards, including recently, I think it was 9 Telly Awards. So, yep, I was a lead actress in that. And so you can check it out because it's on YouTube. Check out Unsound, people.
That's gonna be fun. But you also do the procession.
I do. I'm the director for the urn attendance for the procession, the All Souls procession. And I've been doing that for about 9 years. I'm involved. I'm one of the actors for Stories That Soar. So I'm working with children's theater, and now we're like online and trying to figure all that out. So yeah, I stay busy. I'm a working artist. I was like casting my nets upon the waters. I also do private commissions, and I've done murals and wall hangings and all sorts of things. And I'm a singer-songwriter too.
No, say that again. I'm sorry.
And I'm a singer-songwriter.
Then you are a beautiful one. So if folks can see they can see your stuff here on the Facebook.
Yeah.
Cool.
There's things on Facebook. My slow sachet toward technology is over. I've been like resisting on certain ways, but I'll be getting my Instagram up. I'm trying to figure all that out. So my slow sachet to technology is over, y'all.
Well, I can't wait to have you on IGTV because there's a whole nother party going on over there.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
But you know, this whole thing with the All Souls procession, so that is based off of um the the need when people pass away. A lot of times, for a long time, people will kind of huddle away in their own homes, or sometimes constant visiting to the location of the burial, like in cemeteries and stuff like that, and sometimes not even really going to see a therapist or some sort of outlet.
We don't know
And
how to grieve. We don't know how to grieve. It's about the grieving process and knowing that, that dynamic circle of life and death. And dominant culture, we are ritualistic human beings. We deeply crave and need ritual. And, dominant culture don't have a lot of rituals that deal with transitions and deal with, aspects of spirit and things of that nature. So the whole idea of All Souls has come out of that. No matter what your political affiliation, no matter anything, we have lost people that we loved.
Everybody can relate.
Everybody can relate. And so, go ahead. Yes.
During that time, as a performance artist, and you make the costumes.
We make the costumes. Yes.
You're very much involved. I'm pretty sure, because it's such a large event, that you all do this months ahead of time.
My group, the Earn Attendants, we are in rehearsal for 8 weeks, once a week, plus we make our own costumes. So it's very, very, very labor intensive. And when I was asked to be a director by Nadia and Paula Flemchen and Many Mouths, One Stomach, they asked if I would be the director. And I said, yeah, absolutely. And then I told her, we'll be making our own costumes. That has to be part of the process.
Right.
Making that and then investing all of that time and energy. And we delve into what I call the death mysteries.
Ooh.
For those 8 weeks, talking about death. What does it mean for us? What are the themes of also? So it's also deep and very emotional.
I was just gonna ask you, because since I've met you, I've always had this really good energy feeling with you, and vibrations, and meeting your mom, and it just all around good feeling. But being in the energy of that 8 weeks in the death mysteries, and then having the actual performance on those nights, because it's, I want to say, is it 3 nights or 2 nights?
Well, there's the procession of little angels, which happens on Saturday. Oh, yeah. And that's for children to come and grieve and grapple with death, and a place to honor lost siblings or grandparents or pets or anybody, but it's for children. And then there's the big All Souls that we're a part of.
But do you feel any of that spirit when you're moving through the procession with all the community on alongside you? Do you feel that?
One of the things is, sometimes people think that energy is like this nebulous intellectual term, but energy is real. One of the reasons why we are in rehearsal for 8 weeks, once a week, as well as make our own costumes, is to fine tune our nervous system. Okay. Is to bring it back up to that place where we can handle all of the energy as we walk through the streets, and we are silent. We don't say anything. We collect the prayers in our urns. We are there for that infinite 1 second moment when we look the person in the eye and acknowledge, or look at the pictures and hold that picture and that grief in our hearts, and then take those prayers and then put them in the big one. So how to do that so that you become transparent, you become translucent, you become porous, and let that energy move into you and move through you and move past you.
Have you ever had an experience that was paranormal? I have to ask.
I was that child who could pick up the phone before it rang. When my mother remarried, she remarried a man who was very scientific and did not like that. And I would pick up the phone before it rang, and I go, "Hello, Daddy." And he'd go, "The phone didn't ring." Like, "I know, Daddy, the phone was there." And he said, "Let it ring at least once." I was like, "Well, why?" Because I know it's there. So, I mean, yeah, I'm very intuitive, and that's always been a basis of my life. And my mother was aware of that. And also, I'm an African American. My folk are from the South. They are deep, wonderful, African Methodist Christians, but they know there's another side to existence. So my mother, like, she basically left that alone. And she has prophetic dreams. Years ago, when I lived in Flagstaff 1,000 years ago, I was going to go on a river trip. Hadn't talked to my mother in months. Had my little bag packed. I'm going to go on a river trip. The night before, my mother calls me up and she says, Toreenee. I'm like, hey, mommy. She said, I had a dream. I'm like, oh, dear God, not the dream. Like, what dream, mom? She goes, I dreamt that you drowned. And I'm like, say what? She goes, and it was fast running water, but it was frothy. That was the phrase she used, frothy. I said, like quick water, like water for like rafting? She goes, yes. And I said, well, mommy,
No.
I was going to take a river trip. And I didn't take it.
You didn't?
No. No. Like, you know, when they say in the movie, don't go in the basement? And I'm like, why are you going down there? Like, no. So I didn't do the river trip. A year later, I have friends, like, I knew river runners. So I knew river runners. They said, Toreenee, we'd like to do this river trip along the South River. Well, we won't charge you anything. Will you bring your guitar and sing? I'm like, absolutely. No call, no nothing. Fabulous river trip. And here I am today.
There we are. Damn.
No, but you know, I always believe that the universe always talks. I believe in signs and omens and synchronicity. Carl Jung talked about synchronicity.
Yeah.
So I live out of my intuition. I would say it just saves a whole lot of wear and tear.
You're right. But it's funny because you feel that from your mom. Like she had that dream and she called you. And that's been a lot of what's been hashtag, you know, Nana ayúdame, Grandma help me.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
You know, or people calling out for their mom before they get killed. And I'm like, wow. And you know what? When I was in the hospital, I cried for my mom. I was like,
mm-hmm.
Mom, because that's to me.
That's your primal center.
Yeah.
I mean, if you were fortunate to have a mom that loved you and you felt that love, that's primal. I mean, like, we were in that body. We were in that body.
Like she knows us. Like
yeah, absolutely. So for me, the universe is this intimate, dynamic, loving source that cherishes me, and that I am loved and cherished by the universe. And the universe has seen fit to time and time again affirm that.
That's good.
There was, I mean, I've gone through some hard times here in town, like every artist has, like people have. And there was one time when I was looking for work, and this is again 1,000 years ago. I had a little Saab that I bought for $150. It's a little car. And so I'm living on South 4th, and I have no work. I'm desperate. I'm almost destitute. And I go upstairs to my little apartment and I pick a fight with the universe. I kick my pillows around the room. I cry. I cuss. I offer to kick ectoplasmic ass. I'm crying. I'm sobbing. And I had gotten so little. And then it's just like, okay, alrighty then. I'm tired. I had a full-blown meltdown. And I'd gotten really little. I had thrown a tantrum. And I picked up my pillows and put them back on the little sofa. And then I apologized to the universe and goes like, what do you need right now to feel better? And I'd gotten so little that I said, all I want right now is just a little tiny Reese's Buttercup. Like the little mini ones, which cost 5 cents. I didn't even have 5 cents to my name. And all I wanted was like, all I want right now is a Reese's Buttercup. That's all I want. Because I was so little. And it's like, okay, let me put the living room back. Let me apologize to all the little angels and all the different levels that I've insulted. And let me go back out there and keep looking for work. I walk downstairs, get into my car. The windows were rolled down. And there on the passenger seat of the car was a little Reese's Buttercup.
Oh, come on, man. That's cool, though.
Was a little Reese's Buttercup. So you can't tell me that I am not deeply and profoundly cherished by the divine. Because someone said, what's happening? She's offering to kick Angel ass. Oh my God, what is she doing? Yeah, that's how she gets sometimes. She just gets like that. What does she want? Well, she wants a Reese's Buttercup. Well, just get down there and just put it in the car, damn it. She's having a meltdown.
Right? Jeez.
And then, you know, life continued and it all worked out. But, you know, I was so desperate. I was broken down in that place. I had another time when Patrick was going through cancer, because, you know, he was diagnosed with cancer several years ago, throat cancer. There was one night where in the midst of chemo and radiation, I didn't have any more reserves. I couldn't do it anymore. And I still had ages, it felt like leagues, ages, eons to go in this. And I remember like stripping the bed and cleaning the bed and washing everything. And I didn't know how I was going to go on. I felt absolutely devastated and there was nothing. And someone had put on Facebook this Japanese monk chanting the Heart Sutra. And the basis of the Heart Sutra is Om Gate Gate, Para Gate, Para Samgate, Bodhisvaha. Now, before you get to the Heart Sutra itself is the explanation, which I'd never heard. And so he is singing in Japanese and Sanskrit. And I'm listening like I'm very moved by this. And it's contemporary, so it's kind of got a kind of jazz, kind of new age feel to it, but it's good. He's up there with his guitar and his loop. And I'm like, what the hell? And I'm listening to this and I can feel it in my heart and I can feel it in my being. And then he gets to the end and it's like, this is Paragate. I know this. I spent the rest of the night chanting it and trying to teach myself Sanskrit and in Japanese, crying and sobbing. And by the time the morning came, all of the pain in my heart was completely gone away.
Wow.
So you cannot tell me the vast, endless reservoir of love that the divine has for each and every one of us. Because I don't even know if I would have wakened up in the morning. That's how damaged and broken I felt.
Wow.
And where did it get me? Music. What do I love? Kind of above and many, you know, music has kept me alive all my life. You're like, this girl is down. What can we give her? Give her some music because she will survive if we give her music.
That's how I feel as well. That's the thing that keeps me inspired, gets me going, gets me moving. Because I have a chronic illness, and sometimes I don't want to get up. I'm like, I think today's the day I'm gonna die. You know, it feels that way. But then I hear music or I hear something, I'm like, no, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna burn it till it's all gone. You know, and I've been living that way. But these past couple days, past couple months being on quarantine and you know, miss touching base with other artists and listening and hearing, just knowing what you go through to even get there. Because sometimes, like we forget that we're human, and I'm like, man, there is a downtime, you know, and it's okay to have that downtime so long as you get back up.
And we have to go inward. We have to be able, in this time, we have to be able to be comfortable with uncertainty.
Damn, that's hard.
To figure out what are we standing on? Shifting sand, baby. So where are you going to find your gravity? It's got to be here.
Yeah.
Got to be here.
Toreenee, you during that time with the Patrick, and I seen him right before, I guess he made the announcement, maybe a couple months, and he was out taking street photos with a class or something. But I'm not sure, but didn't you face another fire during that time as well?
Oh yeah, our studio burned. As we were dealing the beginning, but this is an amazing story. As we were dealing with cancer, and he had discovered a lump in his neck, and we were just in the beginning of like, what is this? And he had gone to the doctor before the biopsy and said, well, it's either, you know, squamous cell carcinoma or lymphoma. And I had a friend who died from lymphoma. And he said, do you know anything about it? And I looked at him and I lied to his face. I went, nope, I do not. I wouldn't even say the word. Like, nah, we're not even going to entertain this idea because I know where that goes. I know exactly where that goes. And then as we were beginning to grapple with this, he had his first show of his photo group, Downtown Darkroom, at our studio. And we get this call at 6 o'clock in the morning. He ignores it. And then he picks up the phone. He goes, yeah, I'll be right there. And I go, what is it? He goes, the studio's on fire. And I'm like, what? So we get up, throw our clothes on. And I just said, you know what? It was so big. It was so big. It was so crazy. It was so big on top of everything. I just said, you know what? I'm calling in miracles. I don't even know what's going on. I am calling in the miracles. That's all. I'm just accepting miracles will come out of this. So as we drive downtown, we get quickly downtown, we can smell the smoke. I'm like, good God, how big is this fire? And as we turn the corner, they're like all these fire trucks. I'm like, oh my God. And we pull up and there's all these fire trucks. And I jump out of the car and I run up and there is the head fire investigator guy and we're talking. And then he looks at me and goes, is your name Toreenee? I'm like, yes. And he said, did you do that mural at Cholla High School? I'm like, like, what does that to do with anything? I just became very pointed because he was taller than me. I'm looking up at him. And he said, I was one of your kids. I helped do that mural. And his whole demeanor changed. He's like, okay, we're going to figure this stuff out. And it was like, again, it was the miracle. Here was someone who had a personal connection with me, taking care of everything. And when we walked in the door, because we had other 8 artists work up. So I'm thinking it's going to be bad enough that all my work is probably burnt up, but here are other artists' work that we're responsible for. This is his first show, and what was unspoken was we didn't know if this would also be his last show.
Oh no!
Yeah. And we couldn't say that. But, that's the hanging around the edges. And when we walk in the door, there's all this artwork wrapped up in plastic on a table. I said to Patrick, did you wrap up the art? He goes, mm-mm. When the firemen walked in, he told me that they broke in. He said it was like a fine-tuned ballet, quote unquote. They broke into 3 groups. One to see if there were any people in the place, one to see if there were any pets. And when they realized there was a gallery space, they took the art down and wrapped it up in plastic to protect it.
Oh my God.
That is what they did. So I'm walking in, I'm like, how is all the art? The art was completely protected. Yes, there was some damage here and there, but they recognized that here's art. We're going to wrap the art as the place is burning. This is what they're doing. So when everything, and I couldn't say, I couldn't talk about, cancer or anything like that. So once we were all done, I got back in touch with the fire department and we gave them a car hood.
Oh, yes, that's right.
Hell yes, we did.
Because you made some art piece, right? Yeah,
it was a big car hood and it was an image that Patrick had and I embellished it. And the title of it was In the Moment of Good Harvest. Oh. And that's hanging up. And when we told them what it meant, and I wrote this letter lauding them and saying, and also the fact that they did this, it was like a sign and omen. We're going to be okay. No matter what it looks like, it's going to be okay. We are going to come through this. And what I said is they will never, ever totally understand what that meant as we were looking at fucking cancer.
Oh boy. I know, right? That's amazing because people just don't do things. And the fact that they did that, that's huge.
But see, here's what I believe in. I inhabit a place where there are miracles and I believe in big magic.
Yeah, the supernatural.
And I believe in calling in all that magic and being part of it and working it. So it was so big, I had to surrender. Oh, your studio's on fire. All of my artwork, all of my supplies. And I had just been doing a project for CD's Jamaican Kitchen. Great food, by the way. Yeah. And so I had all of my high-end art was at home.
Oh, good.
And I kept saying, and I kept looking at all of my boxes of high-end paints and brushes and stuff. And I said, okay, I got to keep bringing this to the studio. And I was going to be down in the studio that very morning of the fire. Mm-hmm. And I kept saying, why won't I bring I'll just bring this back to the studio. And it was like a week before. It's like, nope, And it's like, honey, why don't you bring this back to the studio? It's like, I don't know why. And I would look at these crates full of art, full of my paintings and my supplies. It's like, I don't know why I won't bring it. I don't know. I mean, I have to bring it anyway, but like, why won't you just like unload and like get it out of the house and just put it back in the studio? And I didn't do it. So all of the high-end paints and all my high-end brushes were sitting in a couple of crates here in the house.
Damn.
But I believe that if you listen, and there's a phrase I use, I want to be willing, not willful.
Oh, yeah. Hell yeah.
I want to be willing. It still uses the word will, because I am a Scorpio.
I'm a Libra. I try to stay even. I don't know. But you know what's wild is my cousin, it's not wild, but it's something like, I don't know why it happened this way, but Melissa had been telling me, Mel, you need to go pick up your artwork from this place, the Los Barrio, you know, petroglyphs.
Oh, yes.
And I had did all these velvet paintings, and I found all these Mexican wood frames at yard sales and stuff. And I was like, yeah. And so it was up there, and she'd been telling me, you got to go get it. You got to. And I just been putting it off for whatever reason. But then I had noticed that my cousin he passed away, and we were going to bury him. And so, you know, we were on our way to LA, and we like, I don't know if we got a phone call or Melissa checked her Facebook really quick, but there was like a 3-alarm fire. Yeah. And we were like, what? And that everything burned. Yeah. And I was sitting there like, holy shit, because, you know, as an artist, whatever you put out there, that's what's going to carry you through your rent or your gas.
Oh yeah, it's how you make your livelihood. It's how you keep the mortgage, you pay the rent, you put gas in the car, you feed the cats. It's how we survive.
Right, student loan.
Yeah, all of these things. Yeah.
I had a whole show. I mean, I want to say like 7 or 8 pieces, and they're gone. I think I sold a couple, but coincidentally, one of the pieces of art is actually with Regina Romero, our current mayor. Because yes, I was like, yeah. So one piece made it, but the others didn't. But I have no idea that my wife does this. But my wife actually put insurance on my art and my studio. So I'm like, whew. It was almost like they got sold. So I'm like, all right, I can deal with that, you know.
Yeah. I believe I'm comfortable with dichotomy and paradox. So I believe in free will, kismet, and destiny. I believe in all of it. And I believe that there's certain like assignations that are on your schedule. Here's your calendar when you come back. Now, you don't have to keep this appointment, but it might be in your benefit to do so. We've put them in your book, but you don't have to keep them. But it might be good if you do. So we have choices. And I think that there are many things that are not written in stone. And if you get a forewarning, it's because it doesn't have to happen. Right. I'm friends with a lovely woman named Kaylin Castell. She's an astrologer par excellence, just amazing woman. And she talks about when prophecies don't happen, when people are prophesizing about, yo, this is going to happen, and they don't. It's because we've done enough work so we can avoid that.
Wow. Yeah.
So I think that when we get those promptings and those intuitions, it's because whatever that thing is, it doesn't have to happen. Sometimes, you know, that is the assignment. Sometimes you will be keeping that assignation. Sometimes you decide to. Sometimes that is it. But I think so often we have access to a higher realm of information and knowledge.
See, and I'm glad I talked to you today, because there's folks that don't even talk about what you're talking about because it's or it's too involved or too personal. But I'm glad that you do, because sometimes the young people, if they don't have anybody in the middle telling them about these feelings or these thoughts, or the fact that you can actually get out of a vicious cycle, they need to, that's what I'm saying, like they need to see you out there. I'm glad you're out there painting. I want to do some more stuff, but it's starting to pick up, but I'm not an on-site subcontractor. We're doing everything virtually. So things have been picking up on this side, but to see the power of of getting out there and being resilient, like, you know, because of everything that's happening right now.
I think the times are so vast. The need is so great. The transformational qualities that we need to make happen are so huge that all of us and whatever we're doing can play a part in it. Absolutely. Like I am so grateful to have this moment, screen to screen, to look at you and share these stories and talk. I feel so grateful to be able to do this, and it's very nourishing to my spirit as well.
Oh man, I want to say thank you so much. I mean, because it does. We talked about a lot more, and we talked about, like, man, I was like, I never knew half of the stuff, but just for making time for us, for the folks who are listening in, and they can contact you here on Facebook, direct message to Renee. And you're not complete with your mural, so they might be able to catch you out there at the MSA.
I'll probably be out there next week. I've got other work I've got to focus on the next several days, but I probably will be out there Tuesday morning working.
Awesome.
So, yep.
So if you want to see her at work, you know, and feeling her vibration from afar, you can stop by and check her out. But to Renee, I want to say thank you so much. And you made this hour and a half go by so easy.
Thank you very, very much. It's been a pleasure and a delight. And I really appreciate all the work that you do. And like the moment you came into town, you were like doing really fabulous and wonderful and really unusual and distinctive stuff from your voice.
Oh man, thank you for seeing me.
Yeah, absolutely.
That means a lot to me, to be acknowledged. That it's huge. So thank you for that.
Absolutely.
Oh man, see, I can feel you.
I know.
That's so cool. But I'm so glad. I hope everybody enjoyed this conversation, and that to know that you're a local artist and they can, you know, contact you here on Facebook and to connect with you, and we'll see each other again in the future.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
So we can go see your performance.
I would say if anybody wants to get in touch with me, I'm on Facebook, but I will give you my Gmail, TRNWolf2@gmail.com.
There you go. So
I'm kind of old school, y'all. I'll be getting on Insta soon. I'm old school.
No, it's fine. There'll probably be another platform before you know it. So
yeah, could be.
But for now, this is fun. We're in the stars right now. So
yeah, we are.
This is
a lovely way to put it. It's a lovely way to put it. Yeah. Well, my darling, just bless you. Keep right on moving and grooving, and big love to you.
Thank you for your shared knowledge and the belief of miracles. And please tell Patrick I said hello.
I absolutely will. I absolutely. I will. I'll do that. Mommy will be so tickled. I'll tell him. Bye.